if I act like a dick, it makes money. And it's like you say, it's always full circle. It always comes back to currency. How much money am I making?
Yeah, there's two currencies. One's attention, one's money. And attention will bring money.
Yeah. Look, if you narrow it down through history, right? There's two ways to make a fortune: talk shit or get your tits out.
I need to practice talking more shit.
Well, no one's paying to see my tits. I can tell you that much. It
Well,
wouldn't be a
I'm
solid
old.
subscription
Well, I'm old
service.
now. I'm not sure mine will bring that much money anymore because I'm old.
Hey,
Just say that.
some strange markets out there, but even so, even so, I won't be profiting from a subscription service anytime soon.
I don't know if you know such thing as moobs.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. So, but this is the thing. It's snake oil salesmen. You know, they were around the same time as Louis Pasteur, and they were around before that. You know,
You know what? The best example I've ever seen of a snake oil salesman is, have you seen Pete's Dragon? Do you remember that film?
yeah, Pete's Dragon, yeah,
Yeah.
the
Well,
cartoon over a
well, it's the
film.
cartoon dragon, but
It's an
it's the
overlay on a
actual.
film. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's
You
great. We
better
used to
not be
love it as
ruining a
kids.
childhood memory here.
I'm revisiting my quantum inner child, David.
It's very damaged. It's very damaged.
But anyway, no. So on Pete's Dragon, there's these two characters. You see them so set in kind of Victorian kind of era, but obviously I think it's
Yeah,
American based, if I remember rightly. You've got the woman, that's doing the whole lighthouse up, and she's kind of, adopted orphan Pete. But you see a couple of guys literally with their trailer truck, and then they go visiting all the different places in America, selling potions to, make things like hearing, like deafness, a thing of the past, and they supposedly do this live, and give this guy this potion. He was deaf, give him 5 minutes, and his hearing's back. And that proper kind of caricature snake oil salesman. But you're right, that's 100% what it is. Because when you see it like that, it's almost you're because the brain wants to keep it as simple as possible, you'll just believe what you see. So people will just get
yeah,
drawn into, well, it looks real to me. He was definitely a deaf man. He wasn't someone pretending to be deaf in the audience. He picked out a random person in the audience that was deaf, and suddenly he could. And there was another one back walking as well. A man walking with a walking stick, and suddenly, kicked the walking stick and started dancing. Really, really caricature
do
stuff.
you
Really
remember?
funny.
Do you remember that scene in Only Fools and Horses with Grandad?
Which
Uncle
one?
Albert, sorry, with Uncle Albert, where they give him a tonic and he's supposed to just act like he's not as stiff anymore, and he starts dancing like Fred Astaire. But it's yeah, and this is what they're doing. It's snake oil, and it's very enticing. If you're wearing, a 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand watch, you've got a nice apartment in Miami or Marbella, you're driving a sports car, and you're shouting and screaming and talking rage bait. Um, some of these guys are like, they go to Dubai, they're in tailored suits, staying in a hotel, drinking cigars, the finest spirits.
Drinking
That's
cigars.
smoking cigars. Sorry, drinking this fine spirits. Well, actually, you do brandy dip cigars, so technically, I could have got away with that because they do dip cigars, don't they? So yeah, I'm gonna stay. Yeah, drinking cigars and smoking spirits, and but you see them. That was that whole red pill. Because when you talk about those guys that are mentioned in that thing, there's only a group of about 10 blokes.
Mm.
That's it. It's not even close to representing what the manosphere is, or even what the so-called red pill community is. It's literally just a collection of blokes who provide the same content to the same viewers. How it's got blown up to this, I've no idea. It doesn't even make sense.
Well, we did have this conversation last week, if you
Yeah.
remember.
So where are we now with the rest of this video?
Right, anyway, I'm just about to press play. Here we go.
Performance. Theroux does not cut him off. He lets the conspiracy spiral. Then gently notes, when you talk about the world being run by Satanists, you've gone off the deep end. The world isn't run by Sam Smith. The preceding silence allows Sneeko to tie himself in knots, homophobic, anti-Semitic, and paranoid, before Theroux's understated pushback. Sneeko's followers swarm him for photos. The contrast between street adoration and the hateful content he spews exposes the narcissistic feedback loop. Rage equals relevance. Across these encounters, Theroux's silence operates as a recurring motif, which enables each instance the individual being spoken to hang themselves. He asks simple moral questions. Why not do positive things to Sullivan? Better than them? He gains. And then he withdraws. The men, accustomed to unchallenged live streams, cannot resist filling the void. In other words, their narcissism compels them to assert control by speaking. Unfortunately, because they don't have particularly high cognitive function, problem is they go and expose themselves. What pours out is not confident masculinity, but their narcissism dressed as ideology, profit over principle, control masters understanding, unequal love, and conspiratorial hatred. They gasp at being labelled misogynists, yet insist they love women. They decry feminism while surrounding themselves with bikini-clad women and OnlyFans profits. They preach self-improvement, yet admit the algorithm rewards being a dick. Each man worries about coming across on camera, streaming through himself and demanding edits. Their supposedly alpha facades crack under scrutiny because the silence strips away performance. Theroux's restraint, refusing to grandstand, makes the exposures feel organic, almost confessional. The men overcompensate by selling dominance, yet the camera, held in long, awkward beats, shows the vulnerability leaking through. The pained expressions of girlfriends, the defensive legal threats post-filming, for instance, Myron Gaines reportedly considered legal action, Sullivan's alleged on-camera meltdown. The fact is that Theroux's choice to center the men's own voices serves a purpose. It refuses to caricature them as cartoon villains. By letting them speak, he forces viewers to witness the banality of their existence, the way that their misogyny, their hatred and narcissism are packaged as empowerment for profit. The repeated silences of Theroux are not passive. They are Theroux's quiet indictment. In a culture of endless hot takes, he proves that sometimes the most devastating response is no response at all. Just the space for a man to finish his own sentence, hear how ugly it sounds, and ultimately hang himself. Louis Theroux repeatedly deploys the technique of letting the individual hang themselves. Give them enough rope, allow them to speak, and stand back and watch the results.
And there we have it. Give them enough rope.
Did he refer to them? Did he say cognitively limited?
He said something that's something like that,
Very,
yeah. But
very polite, and sort of intellectual way of saying they're thick as shit.
yeah. This is kind of what I like about HG Tudor, because when you do start this, you can just laugh at the way that he phrases stuff sometimes. Like that's quite smart, but it is very funny, but it's very condescending at the same time.
But it does. Louis does a wonderful job of exposing what it is, that it's a scam. And like all of these people, you don't even have to challenge it as such. You can just leave the moments of silence that he does so brilliantly. And the more they have to explain themselves, the less they're able to do it. Because interestingly, if they have an opponent in front of them that they can kind of debate, they can just do that debating tactic of repeating the same point.
Mirroring, you mean?
Well, yeah, but what they'll say is just the same statement time and time again, and refuse to
a bit
dip
like
into
Amber Heard when she's caught between pledging and donating. You can
Yes.
just tell she's got a script in her head that she's sticking to,
Yeah.
rather than actually understanding what's being challenged towards her.
Yeah. So like